In the early 19th century, America found itself in a state of considerable upheaval. The young nation was marked by regional tensions, economic changes, and social struggles. The War of 1812, fought between the United States and Great Britain, had exposed the vulnerabilities of the American military and stirred nationalistic sentiments. Its aftermath left a legacy of unresolved conflicts, particularly regarding territorial expansion, Native American relations, and the institution of slavery, all of which would later contribute to the societal turmoil leading to the Civil War. Amidst this turbulence, a spiritual revival known as the Second Great Awakening gained momentum. This nationwide movement emerged in the late 18th century and reached its peak in the 1820s and 1830s. It emphasized personal piety, social reform, and a belief in human perfectibility, which resonated deeply with many Americans. Grassroots revivals drew large crowds, fostering a sense of community and shared purpose. Central to this movement was the belief that individuals could address moral failures not just personally, but on a societal level, prompting many to engage in various reform efforts aimed at improving the world around them. The Second Great Awakening catalyzed a wave of reform movements that sought to rectify social ills, including temperance, women's rights, and notably, abolitionism. The abolitionist movement, which sought to end the institution of slavery, shared ideological roots with fledgling peace activism. Activists such as William Lloyd Garrison and Frederick Douglass founded organizations and published literature to advocate for emancipation and equality for African Americans. The goal of these reform movements was not only to challenge the existing norms, but also to instill a sense of justice and moral responsibility in society. These developments intersected with the emergence of pacifist ideals and the formation of groups that specifically dedicated themselves to the promotion of peace. The growing discontent with armed conflict and the increasing call for a rational approach to resolving disputes fostered an environment conducive to peace activism. Advocates believed that war was not an inevitable aspect of human existence. Rather, it was a choice that could be unmade through collective action and moral persuasion. This burgeoning commitment to peace found expression in various pamphlets, lectures, and advocacy efforts. Early supporters of peace sought to engage communities through educational means, emphasizing the necessity of dialogue, understanding, and reconciliation rather than conflict and violence. This approach was critical, as many Americans were seeking alternatives to the perceived chaos of international borders and internal strife. The desire to promote peaceful solutions aligned with the broader reformist impulses characteristic of the era. The convergence of these factors laid the foundational groundwork for the eventual establishment of the American Peace Society in 1828. Drawing upon the fervent spirit of reform prevalent during this time, the society emerged as a beacon of hope for those disillusioned by the relentless cycle of violence. Its formation signified a pivotal moment where individuals committed to the transformative power of peace began to organize formally and advocate for comprehensive change in American society. Understanding the context of early 19th century America reveals not only the challenges faced at the time, but also the potential for transformative movements rooted in moral and ethical considerations. In a world still grappling with war and conflict, the origins and aspirations of the American Peace Society remind us of the enduring relevance of these issues in our quest for a more harmonious global community. In 1828, a pivotal moment for peace advocacy in the United States unfolded with the establishment of the American Peace Society. This organization was founded by prominent figures including William Ladd, a key advocate for peace and the abolition of war. Ladd and his contemporaries were motivated by a desire to challenge the prevalent norms of their time, which often glorified violence and militarism as solutions to conflict. The Society's mission was clear and resolute: to promote peace and to explore avenues for the peaceful resolution of disputes. Emphasizing dialogue over warfare, the American Peace Society sought not only to influence public opinion, but also to effect policy changes that would prioritize nonviolent approaches to conflict. This mission was reflective of a broader societal discomfort with the wars that had marked American history. particularly the recent War of 1812, which highlighted the destructive nature of military conflicts and their far-reaching consequences. Leading up to the formation of the American Peace Society, key publications played a significant role in shaping the discourse around pacifism. Texts such as A Plea for the Poor by William Ladd and various pamphlets disseminated by early peace activists communicated principles of nonviolence, equity, and the moral imperative for peace. These written works were instrumental in galvanizing support for peace efforts and crystallizing the ideals that the society would champion. The establishment of the society also occurred against a backdrop of reform movements. The Second Great Awakening, which swept across the nation, inspired a surge in social activism and a renewed commitment to moral and ethical reform. Ideas of personal piety took root within various movements, fueling efforts to improve society, not just through religious devotion, but also through social justice initiatives, including the drive against slavery and the push for women's rights. This cultural climate provided fertile ground for the idea of a dedicated organization focused solely on peace. As the American Peace Society began to take shape, its founders initiated a series of activities aimed at spreading their message. They organized lectures, published periodicals, and held meetings that drew attention to the need for pacifism. The society proved to be a platform for discussions about the implications of war on society and the human cost of conflict. Advocates sought to dismantle the prevailing belief that war was an inevitable part of national identity and instead argued for a transformation of societal values toward peace and reconciliation. From its foundation, the American Peace Society became a gathering point for like-minded individuals who believed in the power of collective action toward reducing violence. Its influence reverberated through education initiatives and community outreach as members worked to instill peace as a core value in American life. The legacy of the American Peace Society goes beyond its immediate efforts. It lays a foundation for future peace movements and anti-war sentiments that would resonate through the decades. The continuity of these ideals in contemporary movements reflects an enduring quest for harmony in the face of conflict, reinforcing the notion that the desire for peace is a timeless human aspiration. The American Peace Society undertook several key initiatives aimed at promoting peace and advocating for legislative changes that reflected their ideals. Central to their mission was a concerted effort to lobby government officials and lawmakers to adopt peace-oriented policies. They sought to influence public opinion by highlighting the necessity of disarmament, investing in diplomacy, and fostering international cooperation over conflict. Through written materials, including pamphlets and resolutions, the society communicated their beliefs and urged citizens to join them in advocating for a peaceful society. To facilitate their goals, the American Peace Society established local branches known as peace societies across various states. These affiliates became vital in spreading pacifist messages and mobilizing community efforts. In the span of just a few years, numerous societies were founded, notably in places like Massachusetts, New York, and Ohio. These grassroots organizations not only mobilized local support for the society's initiatives, but also provided a forum for discussion and activism surrounding the theme of peace, significantly impacting local politics. By uniting individuals under a shared vision of nonviolence, these societies helped foster a broader cultural acceptance of pacifist ideals. Moreover, the American Peace Society's efforts intersected with other significant reform movements of the era, notably abolitionism and women's rights. The founders and supporters of the society were often involved in multiple reform causes, seeing them as interconnected struggles for justice and equality. This intersectionality underscored a larger societal movement towards moral and ethical imperatives that challenged established norms. The arguments for peace often paralleled those for abolitionism, as both movements sought to eradicate systems of oppression, whether through the institution of slavery or the glorification of war. Members believed that true peace could only be achieved through the abolition of violence in all its forms. The society provided a platform for women activists, many of whom were key figures in both the peace movement and the fight for women's suffrage. Women played an essential role in the society, serving as speakers, writers, and organizers. This involvement highlighted the increasing recognition of women's contributions to social reform, laying groundwork for future feminist movements. The emphasis on peace as a shared goal resonated within these circles, framing women as custodians of peace in communities often ravaged by war and conflict. Despite facing significant backlash from proponents of militarism and war, particularly in a nation that was still grappling with its identity following events like the War of 1812, the society remained steadfast in its mission. By advocating for legislation that prioritized peace, the American Peace Society aimed to instill a culture of diplomacy and conflict resolution. Their campaigns included petition drives and public lectures designed to draw attention to the harms of war, promoting a vision of a future where disputes could be resolved without resorting to violence. Through these multifaceted efforts, the American Peace Society laid a foundation for future peace movements, fostering a tradition of advocacy rooted in collective action and moral persuasion. Their legacy continues to resonate in contemporary discussions around peace building and conflict resolution, highlighting the importance of dialogue, community engagement, and the pursuit of justice in all its forms. As we reflect on their initiatives, we gain insight into the ongoing relevance of their ideals in today's complex global landscape. As the American Peace Society gained momentum in the early to mid-19th century, its influence began to wane toward the end of the century. Several factors contributed to this decline. The societal upheaval caused by the Civil War complicated the peace narrative, as the nation grappled with internal conflict and the very real implications of violence. Additionally, the rise of industrialization shifted public focus toward progress and nationalism, often at the expense of peaceful advocacy. Economic interests increasingly prioritized military preparedness over disarmament. Therefore, the ideals of the American Peace Society, once at the forefront of national discourse, became overshadowed by a burgeoning sense of militarism that prevailed through the latter part of the 19th century. Despite its decline, the foundational principles established by the American Peace Society were far from forgotten. The commitment to peaceful conflict resolution and the promotion of international cooperation set the stage for a variety of future movements and organizations dedicated to peace. In the early 20th century, the ideals of the society directly influenced the formation of groups like the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom in 1915 and the Fellowship of Reconciliation, which sought to apply nonviolent principles to social conflict. These organizations expanded upon the society's vision, incorporating the growing momentum for women's suffrage and civil rights into their frameworks for peacemaking. The American Peace Society also parallels the rise of the League of Nations after World War I and later the United Nations following World War II. These international bodies sought to institutionalize diplomacy and dialogue as primary tools for conflict resolution, an approach very much in line with the Society's mission. The Society's emphasis on negotiation, laws of war, and prohibitions against violence continued to resonate through these international peacekeeping efforts, directly echoing many of the Society's original ideas. Entering the 21st century, the legacy of the American Peace Society remains evident in contemporary peace movements around the world. Modern advocates for peace, such as global organizations, local activists, and international coalitions, continue to champion disarmament, human rights, and peaceful conflict resolution. The Society's teachings around the interconnectedness of social justice and peace are highly relevant today, as movements addressing climate change, racial equity, and economic justice understand that true peace cannot exist without addressing the root causes of conflict. In classrooms, forums, and public discussions, scholars and activists often reference the Society's contributions to early advocacy techniques, like the use of pamphlets and public discourse to galvanize support. These strategies are visible today in grassroots campaigns and online movements, showing how the seeds planted by the American Peace Society continue to bear fruit in current efforts. As we reflect on the legacies of past peace movements, the American Peace Society serves as a testament to the enduring power of collective action for a harmonious society. Though the path toward peace is fraught with obstacles, the Society's vision reminds us that the quest for understanding, compassion, and dialogue is ongoing, a call that resonates equally today as it did in the 19th century. In a world that desperately seeks solutions to entrenched conflicts, the lessons learned from the American Peace Society are both a reminder of our progress and a guiding light for future generations committed to fostering peace.